Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. I am one of your generals, Jimmy Good, and joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre and my other friend and general, Joe Lieber. How are you doing, Joe?
Reporting for duty, sir. Ready to go on your command.
Oh, well, thank you. It feels good. Feels great.
Oh, wait.
Uh-oh.
You don't technically, do you outrank me? If
I know.
Generals.
We were supposed to talk about
maybe
this.
Maybe you have an extra medal or two, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to come on here and be like, I'm the best general and you're the second. Joe is my right-hand man. If you want to do pirate stuff, he's my first mate. I wouldn't have it any other way. But thank you to all the Legionnaires who are also joining us, and to anyone who's joining us for the first time. We talk about movies, games, TV shows, and all the other things in our lives that we love so very much. But first, Joe recommended we do a little bit of a throwback. So for anybody who's watched some in the past, we used to do this to kick off our shows from time to time. I would give Joe a few clues about an animal, and he would have to guess what it was. So Joe, are you ready for our little game?
Jimmy, I was born ready, pal. Born ready.
The pause indicates otherwise. Anyway, so first off, here is some facts about our animal. Joe, this animal is a carnivore. Stands about 4 feet tall. Weighs in at a whopping 50 pounds, roughly. And is the largest among its 17 different species. What animal is this?
50 pounds, stands at 4 feet tall.
Yep.
50 pounds.
I was going to say, I want to remind everyone that in the past, we've either done this where it's really easy to guess what it is, or it's incredibly difficult. I have picked an animal that everyone pretty much knows, but I've given only the most minimal amount of clues, because if I give anything else at this point, I'm afraid it would give it away.
Is it like a Mexican or a red wolf?
No, that's actually a pretty good guess, though, Joe. It's a pretty good guess. Let me give you another clue that will probably give it away, but I'll try to. Joe, this predator, I guess it's technically a predator. It's a carnivore. It can face wind chills as cold as 76 degrees below Fahrenheit. Or 76 degrees below zero, I should say. Below Fahrenheit. It's completely below Fahrenheit altogether when you think about it. No. Negative 76 degrees Fahrenheit. There you go.
That's pretty dang cold. Arctic animal, 4 feet tall, carnivorous.
That's correct.
4 feet tall, and it's 50 pounds. 4 feet, 50 pounds, carnivorous. A penguin.
What kind of penguin?
Emperor penguin.
Yes. Woo! There we go. Nice job, buddy. Well done.
Carnivorous, yeah, because it only, pescatarian maybe, because it only eats fish.
I'm still calling it a carnivore.
No, that's totally fine.
I was reading some other facts. Apparently, they face, besides just that cold, Joe, they can face blizzards of upwards to 124 miles per hour, or if you're from Europe and stuff, 200 kilometers per hour. That's insane. We had a 60-mile-per-hour wind a month ago, and I was terrified. I don't think I could double that and be like, I'm just going to stand out here.
Yeah, that's like tornado type stuff right there.
That's incredible.
So really, you've got penguins out there clinging on for dear life, and sometimes you'll see the occasional one sliding by.
it's like send your fan art to us of the penguins. But yes, actually we had Thomas on the stream the other day, and his favorite animals, penguins, and that's how I kind of thought. I was like, oh, penguins! Penguins are pretty cool.
No, but then you got the South African penguins or whatever, the ones that are, real docile and mobile. What's the word? Yeah. Mobile. Yeah,
I saw one in at a resort in Hawaii once when I was there a long time ago, and I remember thinking what's going on here? They're like, here it is. I was like,
so it was that type of penguin, and it was in Hawaii. They natively show up there.
I don't believe so. First off, it wasn't an emperor penguin. It was a smaller one. But I think it was one that could deal with warmer climates, because I was thinking I don't know if they should probably just have a penguin. Maybe they can deal with warm climates all the time. I'm not sure. It just seemed like it would be kind of mean to put just this thing that's really used to the cold and the snow, and you're just put it right there on a rock in the middle of this resort, and you're like,
Well,
it is.
I know, for instance, a lot of the ones you see in the zoo, in those displays, and you can see them swim underwater, those smaller ones. I think those are like South African or something like that, which typically warmer climate. But Hawaii?
Yeah. Well, again, it was at a resort. It was at like an actual like hotel. So they like probably, it was just like, oh, look, you're in Hawaii, but look, there's a penguin. How funny is that?
Yeah.
People in Hawaii are jerks. I'm just kidding to all of our Hawaiian.
all the kids that visited that hotel are like, so penguins in Hawaii? My teacher never taught me that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. Anyway, trying to move on from ornithological pursuits and endeavors.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
Pretty fun. Let's move into. That was a good one. Well, thank you. I tried. We got some news, Joe. Let's get into it right away here. Got some Spawn movie news.
Hot off the presses.
It's hot. I can barely. It's just like a hot potato.
Here, throw it to me. Throw it to me.
There you go. Oh no! I dropped it. Oh no. Oh well. Anyway, so Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, basically just sent out a video recently showing a script for the movie. Now that doesn't mean the movie's going to be made, like he made so clear in there. And he had a script that started at like 180 pages, but now he got it down to like 136. And Hollywood, apparently they want you to have it like 120. So it's like about a minute per page. So it'd be like a 2-hour movie. So he's like, I got to knock off like, 16 more pages or whatever. But he said he's had some inquiries. People are interested in it. And Joe, I know this will make you really excited, but he did confirm, he's like, this is going to be an R-rated horror film. Like he wanted to make that very clear. Like at the end, he's like, that's what this is what this is. And if we're going to make it, this is the way we're going to do it. And I was just thinking like, oh, Joe would probably really appreciate that.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't creep me out like that last one. That last one was just a little weird.
Was it because of the clown?
Yeah, the clown thing and for the time period it was done in, the technology wasn't quite there. So
well, nowadays, I mean, maybe back in the day it might have fared a little better, but you're right, because now you can like the cloak's all weird, but then they go to hell and it all looks real bad.
Yeah, just a little much for the capabilities of that time.
The cape abilities? Oh, Joe, that was very good. Good job, buddy. You did it. You get
cape? Yeah, I love the capabilities.
There you go. So, question, Joe. We've talked about you love Spawn, you love Venom. I love Spawn, I love Venom. One of the reasons I think I like them both is because they have the ability to kind of make themselves into different weapons, kind of, if they need to. Is that alluring to you too, as far as like the cape can kind of like go over him, like shield him, like Venom can kind of like make spears come out of him, and I think Spawn can do stuff like chains and stuff.
Yeah, well, we all saw where he like morphed a motorcycle into like a freaking battering ram type bulldozer thing, like sweet, all armored up. Spawn is probably even more so than Venom for sure. Like that cape can kind of do anything and everything, which is awesome. Really cool. And the fact that like it changes form and shape, like he'll be flying and it'll be super long and it kind of like carries him in the wind, and then it kind of comes back to a more realistic scale when when he's walking or when he lands. I think it's really cool. The suit design, the aesthetics of it all, pretty freaking sweet. It's almost Alien more so than Demon, but
Sure.
Regardless, really cool concept, and probably every bit as interesting as like the Venom symbiote design.
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Well, I was just thinking he's almost like Agent Venom meets Doctor Strange, because he's like a guy with a suit that shoots guns, but he's got like a crazy cloak and magic, and it's like, okay, he's a lot of things. Spawn is very powerful. But
let's bring him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah.
Oh man, if only. I'm just hoping that they, I hope that this movie actually gets made, because I would love to see what a team nowadays could do with it to try and keep it like with more of a longevity, because I feel like a lot of movies they're making now have the potential to look all right for the next 5 or 10 years. Whereas like some of those old ones, they're kind of like, just put whatever effect in there that you can, and it's fine. Don't worry about it.
No, definitely. I really hope that and that's a good point. I hope they make it with longevity in mind. Something that could go on for a sequel, a third one, a fourth one, fifth one. I think that'd be really cool. And along with that, they need to come up with a really compelling storyline, which it sounds like this guy's got a hell of a script and he's having a tough time narrowing it down and cutting pages out. So that says that there might be some quality there, and I hope the storyline is compelling. The last one was, yeah, it's kind of cliche, happens all the time, kind of a deal. But yeah, interested to see where they go with it. And I hope. Let's just stick with the clowns are a part of it. That's like part of Spawn lore, so you can't really do with that. What did we looked it up a while back? There's like 3 of them or something, and they have like it's almost like the 3 horsemen sort of a deal.
Or 4 or whatever.
4 horsemen, sorry.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Akin to that.
Question, Joe, do you just skip the origin story altogether and just go right into just, oh yeah, this is spawning about,
Well, I think they skip it, but maybe do some sort of nod to it or some sort of synopsis kind of portraying what happened or how he got to the point he's in.
Sure, maybe like Deadpool or something like that, where they kind of did like from the beginning. It's like Spawn's there, but then they kind of cut back once in a while.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Something to build his base, because, you can't count on everybody knowing the Spawn story based off of that old movie.
Sure, yeah.
It should be a little bit of, something maybe Deadpool-esque, something of that nature, something to nod to, he was pulled to hell, agreed to work for the devil or whatever. And this is where he is now, and the hardships he went through. I don't want him to go full bore like a full season of flashbacks with like Arrow style, but
oh geez,
I want a little bit, maybe something in his current storyline or plot. He has a conversation with somebody and they show a couple of flashbacks of something, but I don't want it to take up the entirety of the first act. I want it to just be a little something to give people the background they need. And like, oh, okay, so now he's basically one of Hell's generals, sort of a deal.
Sure. It could be something more like akin to Predator or Predator 2, where they have like the point of view of these just like random, just like regular people, and then you have the titular character like that be this force that no one knows how to deal with. And so you're just kind of, he might be the kind of the villain, but it might be a bunch of mobsters, so he's not a villain. So you just like, you never know what Spawn is, but he's just killing everybody, and everyone's terrified of him, which would be kind of cool too. Like I'd watch 2 hours of that. I'd be like, oh, all right.
So give him the feeling or the aura of Predator, like Predator in New York City or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Hottest summer on record, and he showed up to hunt.
Exactly, yeah, and he's just there, and he's just cleaning up the streets. He sees evil, and he's just taking them out. That'd be great. I hope it gets made, and I hope there's like a good budget behind it too, because we've proven now with like Deadpool and with Logan that if you have a well-known enough character, and if it's an R-rated film, it can still make money. So that's my only concern.
Yeah, clearly. The thing about Deadpool, though, it brings a little bit more of a fan base.
For sure.
Deadpool definitely has a popularity behind him, and people appreciate the comedic factor.
Yeah.
Meaning that it's going to be a little more vulgar, kind of modern day pop culture jokes, all that sort of stuff. I think people, unfortunately, they feed off of that really, really well. I'm hoping this does do justice to the horror aspect of it all.
Sure.
I think there's an artistic quality there that needs to be appreciated, and a lot of people don't, or they take it for granted a little bit. So, and you know what ruins that is poor horror movies.
Yeah, it's true. Well, there's so many of them. That's the problem. The other concern I kind of have is because we talk about Spawn being this kind of larger-than-life character, the big cape and all this stuff, is that if it's an R-rated film, the budget probably won't be there as much, so they're going to have to think of intelligent ways to make his abilities still look really, really cool on a lower budget. Because that's why Deadpool and Logan work so well, because you have got 2 main characters that don't necessarily have a ton of powers, and they just are kind of like, there they are. Whereas Spawn's like, I can...
Yeah, he's much more... There's a lot more of a requirement for visual effects with Spawn because it's very outlandish powers as opposed to something that's a little more down to earth, such as a guy that can just, heal or fight really well and kill people. Sort of a deal, So, Yeah, exciting, and it'd be interesting if so he's got a script together and he's kind of pitching it to studios or kind of garnering interest from studios. Who's to say maybe we don't get one of the real big players in on it, huh? Maybe there will be a budget behind this thing.
Yeah, that would be great. In my dream scenario, everything I love goes to Disney, even Jurassic Park here. But it's just that's not going to happen. I don't think Disney would touch it. But I wouldn't completely be surprised to see something like a Warner Brothers or somebody else be interested. Sure. I don't know who owns movie rights to Spawn right now, though. Maybe nobody does because it's been so long, so they might be up for grabs. I'm not sure.
That's kind of my hopes, actually. I think it brings more to the table, more possibilities.
Yeah, especially if people are fighting for it. That'd be even better because if you have a bidding war, then people are going to the money's going to go up, and that just is better for Spawn. So yeah. That's good. That's good news. But Joe, moving on from Spawn, we got some news about the Rampage movie. Some information sent out by The Rock here on Instagram. And if anyone doesn't know what Rampage is, it's an old game where you play as kind of like rip-offs of larger, like a Godzilla or King Kong, and you kind of go and destroy a town, and you kind of that's your whole goal is see how many buildings you can destroy and fight the military and stuff. Little 2D, kind of side-scrolling platformer thing. Really, really fun back on Game Boy and probably other systems too. But The Rock sent this out, and I just thought it was really funny because we're fans of The Rock here. So this is what he went on to say. He said, "I head up an anti-poaching unit of Rwanda. My best friend is a rare albino gorilla named George. Very bad people infect George, an alligator, and a wolf with a serum. All three animals grow at an unprecedented rate. Their size, speed, agility, and violent aggression is off the charts. They go on a deadly rampage and want to destroy the world. George not happy, me not happy. When animals like you, they lick you. When they don't like you, they kill you. I will hunt down the bad people who did this to my best friend, and I will find them. I will not lick them." Which I thought was, it's that's pretty funny. Joe's just got a weird face. Now he's trying not to think about The Rock licking people.
He also, I think he had another post on that too.
Yeah, he goes on to talk about WWII being the people who worked on Lord of the Rings, working on the monsters for this, which that's good because WWII is just world class. They always have been. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
The gorilla is played by a 6'9" tall guy named Jason Lyles.
Whoa, that's a tall guy.
Studied gorillas for months to prepare for the motion capture role. Studying the gorilla's movements, the mannerisms, body language, that sort of deal, how to show emotion. Interesting. Most advanced VFX motion cap process ever.
I feel like they say that for every one of those. It's like War of the Planet of the Apes. I'm sure they use the most advanced.
That's just good marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just good marketing.
But it's due out April 20th, 2018, so a year from now, a little less than that. But, to be honest, Joe, I didn't really have this movie on my radar at all, and I still have to wait to kind of see a trailer. But I do like The Rock and kind of whatever he's in. For the most part, there have been a few hiccups. There's been a few things where I'm like, whatever. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. It'll be kind of cool. It's just The Rock. It'll be San Andreas, but hopefully better. Because The Rock seems to kind of play these roles where he isn't necessarily the problem ever. He's like the guy who tries to fix it or survive it.
Sure.
So I thought originally he was going to be one of these monsters. I was like, Rock's in the Rampage movie. I'm like, good for him. So what's he going to be? And they're like, he's just going to be a dude. So
I don't know much about Rampage, but as soon as we can see some marketing for it, some advertising for it, some trailers, some concept art, etc., maybe some imagery, I think that'll help us dish out our thoughts a little better.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Joe, we're talking about all these things that are new. We kind of missed something that was kind of big last week, but we've got two big game announcements, more or less. One that just happened today, which we'll get to in a moment, that I'm really excited about, and one that you were pretty excited about I think it was last week, but Call of Duty World War II.
Yeah.
Joe, throwing it back. We're pedaling backwards here. There's been a lot of kind of speculation that this is in response to Battlefield going back to World War I, and Call of Duty was kind of pressing the futuristic boundary there. And you okay, pal? You give me the 1 second sign? You good?
No, I'm thinking.
Oh, he's thinking. He's thinking about World War II. But anyway, just kind of seeing that Call of Duty is taking a step back. It's kind of funny because I was joking with Joe recently. I want to pull out World at War Call of Duty and be like, yeah, I've got my World War II Call of Duty game. It's right here. What's going to be different? What's going to be new? But from the trailer, it looks like, it looks like a World War II game. I don't know what to tell you. It's like it's not going to do anything drastically different that we know so far, and it's taking a step back. So my question to you, Joe, is after playing a ton of Overwatch and Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1 now, do you think this is good for Call of Duty?
Well, I do. And I think if you go back in history, I think even in a podcast we may have talked about this. I think one of our ideas was let's go older. Obviously they have done World War II in the past. It was earlier on, that's when Call of Duty was first a thing. But they did Vietnam. That's kind of the oldest they've gotten is those two. And I think now, with their track record, the money, the budget, etc., the technology, the gaming systems, I think the quality is there, the ability to do these really advanced graphics. I think it's made it better and a more profitable venture for all, not just them, but for the users as well. So I think it's cool. Because let's face it, when you play these futuristic games, and I'm not bringing Battlefield into this. I'm kind of comparing within the Call of Duty franchise right now.
Sure.
So you have all these futuristic first-person shooters. I think if you look back, I'll bet you that the most successful ones have been either the modern-day shooters, the more modern ones like today's era, or the historical ones. I'd be willing to bet money that those are more successful than these future ones. I know Black Ops 3 did pretty well, but I just think we had talked about it in the past, like I was saying, and I think our idea was, go for something older. You can't realistically do like Revolutionary War. Maybe Civil War would work. Like there's an idea that hasn't been capitalized on yet, but I think that disconnection to the futuristic ones doesn't exist with these older style ones. Like this is kind of based on history and things that really happened, and it brings a more impactful feeling to the game.
Yeah.
I remember when I jumped into Battlefield 1, now jumping, titles, franchises, but Battlefield 1 was World War I, historical, the graphics insane. Unfortunately, I haven't played through the campaign on that one. Shame on me. But the graphic quality was insane. The controls and everything was there. It was fun. But Call of Duty, from the trailer gets you amped up. The quality looks off the charts. I've seen a couple gameplay images of the campaign, and it looks really good. Every bit as good as Battlefield 1, which counts for something. The face animations look really well done. The sound sounds amazing. Like if that trailer is any prelude to what we're going to hear in the actual game sound, holy man, that's pretty sweet. That deserves a nice big old pair of over-the-ear headphones and cranking it up, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Maybe even turn on the subwoofer, feel the vibrations. But I think it's a good move. How many more ideas can you come up with? The futuristic stuff is kind of, I wouldn't call it limitless. I mean, okay, you got the jump packing and all that. You got these crazy, drone type thingies and all this and that. But let's get back to the nitty gritty, where skill counts, you're grounded, and it's all about the shooting with the open sights. Scopes are kind of a rarity. Come on, yeah, I'm down for that. I like it.
Sure. I wanted to look something up here quick, Joe, because you just were talking about how you'd like to put money on, like, you think that like the Modern Warfare or like the older ones, were getting more copies sold or whatever.
Black Ops 1 or 2, maybe.
So I pulled up a list here, and the highest selling Call of Duty for copies, or I should say just copies sold, that I'm seeing here on this one thing is Black Ops 3.
It really did well. Okay.
I think
that was a futuristic one. And I think that goes to show that Treyarch's track record was.
Well, it just keeps climbing. That's the thing. Every Call of Duty seems to do, pretty well. But that one did really well. The other one that did really, really well, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Because Call of Duty Modern Warfare was like the big leap for the franchise. Because before that, they never broke. Call of Duty Finest Hours sold 10 million, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare got 18 million copies sold, and then Modern Warfare 2 29. And I think they just after that it was like, whoa, there's a big resurge, or it's just a big surge for Call of Duty stuff, and so it kind of keeps going like that. Like Call of Duty Black Ops, the one we love so much, 25.6 million copies. Black Ops 2, 29.5 million copies. There's just a lot. Even Ghosts got 20.5 million copies. Like that's like for the game that's
Notice the drop in that one though, where I think reviews kind of affected that one a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's just interesting to see, and regardless of whatever they make, Call of Duty still, we're waiting to see about Infinite Warfare still, kind of copies sold. But those games, they do gangbusters. That when we were in college specifically, Joe, I remember there was a time where it's just kind of like, whoa, Call of Duty's out. Like that's the one game that a lot of people buy.
The campus was like deserted because all the guys are gone. All you see are girls on campus because all the guys are at GameStop waiting.
Yeah. So I guess, when I think about Call of Duty World War II, going back to that, it's an interesting position for them to put themselves in, because now they've gone back. They said, we're not going future for now. We don't know. They typically have like 3 different teams. They have Sledgehammer, kind of Infinity Ward or whatever, and then Treyarch doing these games. So I don't know if everybody's going to follow suit or if they're going to have
Activision.
Yeah. Activision owns like all of it.
They must.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if they'll just have one group be like, okay, you're doing old school, and then like you guys keep doing the new stuff, and then it's just hard because when you have a game that's coming out every year from 3 different groups, we don't know what we're going to get. But I don't think it's a bad thing for them to go back to World War II. I just wonder if people are going to feel a fatigue with it that they didn't in the other ones. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I just like the fast-paced double jumping and jetpacks and.
Yeah, that's a Titanfall thing. But then again, look at Titanfall. I mean, is there anything really? They added in like the grapple and stuff like that. But is there really anything there that's just like groundbreaking, earth-shattering? With these first-person shooters, Overwatch is really the only outlier in the whole group. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
I mean? So how much can you really just shatter the foundation on this thing? I mean, it's just going to be a new version of it every year, and people just have to be content and live with that. I mean, there may be variations, and this has changed a little bit, which is cooler, but I don't think it's ever going to be such a drastic leap that it's just going to make people bounce off the walls. That was when it first came out, Call of Duty. That was when, oh my God, this first-person shooter is just amazing, and it just started a whole thing, and now it's here. It's here to stay. Is it really going to be earth-shattering changes from year to year? Probably not. They've kind of gone through most of the options. There's probably a few on the table here or there, but I mean, I don't know. How far can you really take it? And you are somewhat limited by the possible controls on a controller, the usability by a player, etc.
I mean, that's true. My question now is, I guess, do you go back further? Do you ever go back past World War I? Do you go back to Revolutionary War? Do you go back to the Civil War?
Here's the thing that would ruin Revolutionary, I think, is the reload time. You would literally shoot one bullet. You would go, okay, 1 minute.
Do you ever think they're going to get really into time travel, and you, as a character in one of these campaigns, will go throughout all these wars with your like either future or just modern weapons and destroy people? Like I was watching, we'll talk about later, but Legends of Tomorrow, and they go back to the Revolutionary War, and they just give some guys some assault rifles, and those guys are scary because in the Revolutionary War, if you could fire off like a bunch of rounds, in just a couple of seconds, that was like unheard of. I was like, what?
Yeah, you're basically a one-man army. It's like, oh, you got a big rifle? Oh, you got 100 big rifles? Well, I got one gun that holds 100 rounds.
Exactly. Yeah. So
done.
I would, I wouldn't mind if Call of Duty got a little zany in that for the campaign specifically, but you're right. The reload times would be kind of rough. I don't know if it would be like you'd shoot a gun and you just drop it, and you as a character would just have a ton of guns on you. So you're just like, ugh.
And you kind of pick them up as you go from people that have fallen or something. I don't know. Civil War, I think, could be neat because Civil War, you had repeating like lever action rifles. That's when they came out with the minigun, the hand crank Gatling gun, things of that nature. That's when all that started to come to fruition and was being developed. So the Civil War is actually kind of a possibility. I think that would actually be kind of neat and a good piece of history that has never really been shown in the video gaming world.
Yeah, or at least not as predominantly. I mean, if Call of Duty makes something, it's going to be seen by just about everybody. So
exactly. Not to mention how many history buffs study the Civil War. The Civil War is like one of the most popular historical points.
Well, especially here in America, because it's like, 100% Americans. We had like the French come in at some points, but like so many Americans died, and that is like the single biggest loss of American life we've ever had as a nation. So that'd be kind of interesting to tell the story. The problem is, I think you really need to tell it. Like you probably have to tell it from the Yankee point of view. So you're killing Confederates. It's kind of like you don't play World War II games and play as like you're like sometimes I play as the Allies. Once in a while I play as the Nazis. Like you'd never do that. You just like you're always the Yankee campaign. You wouldn't be like, oh, that Confederate made some good points. Like that wouldn't fly. Like, but yeah, Civil War maybe. But Joe, are you excited about this game? Do you want to get this game day one?
I think I do. I think I do because the historical Call of Duty games have always been kind of good. The futuristic ones get a little crazy to me, and the double jump function makes it like. Some people get so good at that you almost feel just outranked right away. Whereas if I'm remaining grounded and it's just based off of awareness and watching your map and I'm shooting this direction, I don't have to look up, down, side to side in the sky. It's more of they're either on the ground or up here in this tower or up on that platform or I like that. The same thing with like Black Ops 1. I love that grounded feel, the realistic grittiness of it all. I thought that was good. So I'm down for it. I think, part of me talking about this makes me feel a little guilty about Battlefield 1. I got a lot of use out of that game. Don't get me wrong. I probably got my $60 worth out of it. Mm-hmm. The multiplayer was good. But eventually I start to wane on it just because of the pace of it. It's so big and so, open worldy almost. You really got to search for things. And sometimes the time investment is just too much for me.
Sure. I get that. The maps are just huge.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I got a sneeze coming on.
He gets all choked up when talking about Battlefield 1. I don't blame him.
Okay, it passed. But, yeah, like, do I want to play 5 Call of Duty matches and spend a half an hour on them with my buddies, or do I want to spend a half an hour on one match that it looks like I'm for sure going to lose?
Sure. Yeah, I get that.
I mean? The campaign on Battlefield 1 looked amazing. The graphic quality was certainly there. And in fact, it's probably on my list here to go back and play that. And I'm not sure if you can do a co-op campaign on Battlefield 1, but that's an idea. I should go back and look at that.
I'm not sure if you can.
But, yeah, that game certainly wasn't a waste of money. But I think for Call of Duty, I need that fix every once in a while. Like, lately, Overwatch has been consuming me. What else have we been playing? Or Ghost Recon. That's been great. Don't get me wrong, but I tell you, every once in a while, I need to feed that itch of I just need to slaughter some people in quick succession. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I stuttered.
It's okay.
And that'll feed that itch. So I think I will buy that because I need something, sitting in the reserves in the gaming drawer that I can pull out and just freaking take out some frustration on some people and yell at them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me, man. Well, I'm excited to see you play it. And maybe, I don't know, that might be another a Joe game, a Joe review type situation. Because I don't know if I'll get it because I'm like,
So I got to say this. maybe with the help of our viewers, we could get you a copy. I will buy my own for sure. I know Drew's probably going to end up getting it. And here's how I want to sell this. This is how I'm going to sell it.
Uh-oh.
Jimmy and I, none of our viewers or listeners have probably seen any of this gameplay, but Jimmy and I used to play Call of Duty Black Ops 1, based in the Vietnam era.
Yep.
Probably one of the best Call of Duties there was.
Yes, I think so, anyway.
It really was good, and I'll tell you what, Jimmy and I would kill hours playing that game.
Yeah.
And we would have little competitions, what's your KD, or how many kills did you get, and yada yada, or here, you watch my 6, and we would just mow people down. And sometimes the commentary and the jokes and the laughter that would come out of that were just downright epic. And actually, that's what kind of led to the podcasting deal. It's like, we should record this stuff, like the things we say.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, depending on what they say about this game, and let's check out some reviews and stuff, watch some gameplay, I think it'd be a good opportunity to have some fun. I really do. And let's wait and see, shall we?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm trying to remember, Joe. I think we played that back in college, and I think we used to play like couch co-op because you could do split screen on.
Yeah, we did a few times, didn't we? Yeah.
I remember doing that. I remember actually kind of like I lived on a single floor. And there was like one guy there, like during like the first like couple of days, because I went there early for work, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you play Call of Duty, like Black Ops?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "We should play." Like, so I like played a few times. There were like the only 2 dudes on this floor, like a few rooms apart, and I was just like, yeah, I know that guy. We used to play Call of Duty together.
You'd always get the guys in the dorms that are just blaring heavy metal music or like hardcore rap, and they're freaking shooting people, and you just hear them yelling. Yeah, Jimmy and his hardcore rap.
I love the Eminem. I was thinking back to Black Ops. I was like a FAMAS commando kind of guy, or from those are the guns.
See, and I love the outline and the customization of that game. I think it was perfectly done. It wasn't too much over the top, but they had a good selection. The customization was right, and I also like the perks, like the Ghost Pro, or you could just have the Ghost, and certain things came with those, and you had to work your way up to get those.
Yeah.
Once you got them, it was great. The Prestige mode, fine. I was fine with it. I think that was just such a good platform. It was straightforward and just well done. Had good balance to it. There was nothing too crazy about it. There was quick scoping, but it wasn't ridiculous like on what was it?
Call of Duty Ghosts.
Call of Duty Ghosts. That one was horrible. I quit playing because of it. It was literally ridiculous.
Now, Joe, remind me, was Black Ops where Skeeter was born?
Black Ops is where Skeeter was born. I was like, I literally, that was the other cool part, is the clan tags, or the customized tags that you could make. I literally had like this fuzzy little fluff ball. It was pink, and it had eyeballs, and it wore glasses, and I put little shoes on him. And he was my little tag that I spray painted on every one of my guns. And then I think I named him Skeeter or OM&M or something because of my Cement's my favorite band. And that's what was on my gun. And I would literally run around. What did I get that from, though? And I was like, I would run around and be like, "Oh, calm down, Skeeter. You ain't hurt nobody." I'd run into a room and just nail all of them, just kill everyone. Oh, Skeeter, you got a little out of hand there. Calm down, Skeeter. And it was a whole just redneck joke through an entire match.
I just hear him in the comms just be like, "Oh, hold on, Skeeter, ain't hurt nobody." I'm like, Skeeter just killed like 2 guys.
Yeah, if I wasn't on a party chat with you, imagine what the other people in that party or that group would have been thinking. Like, this guy's freaking insane.
That was pretty good, though.
But he's leading our group, so we can't get mad at him.
Yeah. We used to run ballistic knives and just Marathon Pro and just run around stabbing people. Yeah, it's good times.
The greatest thing ever. Just Marathon Pro and ballistic knives, just kill everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I remember my emblem. I don't know if you ever saw it, because I was like, "Joe, can you see my cool emblem?" I made like a Velociraptor holding a katana with a rocket launcher on his back.
Yes.
I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." Like no one could ever. It never seemed like it loaded for people. I was like, "Look at this thing!" And I'd have to bring the people to my room and be like, look at it.
But at least you could see it. And what would have been cool is that if you Twitch stream that, they'd see it because it's first person right there.
That's true. They would see my Velociraptor with a rocket launcher and holding a katana.
Just saying, if that's a thing in this this World War II one, be prepared to see it, people. But that's something we should try sometime, Jimmy. Can we download Call of Duty Black Ops 1 for Xbox One?
I think it is backwards compatible now.
I'm pretty sure it is. So if we bust that out, maybe we do a little bit of a throwback stream. Bring back Skeeter and the killer Velociraptor. Huh?
Gonna get destroyed. I know it. And then we have to make the climb. We got to make the climb to get the guns.
I wonder if it loads all of your old data.
You might have to transfer it. I'm not sure though.
Maybe.
And also, I was on PlayStation. Weren't you on PlayStation?
You had it for Xbox 360. Remember, we used to play when I was on Lacrosse.
I also, I bought it for 360. You're right. You're totally right, dude.
Anyway, yeah, good times. But I wouldn't doubt if you're right. Like the only people still playing that game are the people that are like epically good. Like,
they just like don't even look. Just boom, they're just shooting.
They're just like, why'd you even show up, bro?
Yeah, I run dual CZ75s, baby. Just run around like little pistols.
I could kill every one of you on the opposing team, and I wouldn't even have to reload.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
I couldn't imagine.
All right, we've talked about Call of Duty enough, though, Joe. We have to talk about the other big game announcements. The big one for me, which I can't believe, it's like you hope in life, Joe. You wish. You make a wish list video. And it'll be a lot cooler because they'll see like something will pop up there, Joe. I'm not just like if I'm just pointing at nothing.
I know.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. Darksiders 3 got announced today. Like it's official. There was like, is it a leak or whatever? No, it is official. IGN's they do this thing where every month they call it IGN First, and then they show off a game, little bits and pieces of it for the entire month. So last month they had, I think, Shadow of War, the new Middle Earth game. But this month is going to be Darksiders 3. They parceled out some information. There was a trailer. And yes, I don't even know what to talk about. It's because it's too much. I'm just so happy it exists. I knew it wasn't going to be probably what I'd hoped, which was like a 4-player co-op or like switch out between all the characters. That's fine. They got to build up to it. That's cool. But it will be starring Fury, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, during the events kind of simultaneously with Darksiders 2, which weirdly takes place before Darksiders, the first one. Little confusing. But anyway, she's like she's a mage. She has a cool whip. She looks like she can use a bunch of different weapons. And I had Joe watch this trailer. I gush about Darksiders all the time because I think it's a fantastic franchise. But Joe, I want to get an outsider's perspective on Darksiders. What do you think about this? You know, you saw the trailer. You saw War chained up. You saw Fury. What did you think?
It is pretty cool. It's got a good artistic quality to it, I think. Yeah. I like the cinematic part of the trailer. I mean, she like whips this big ogre demon and she whips his battle axe, which is huge, and like she whips it around and makes him cut his own head off, which is pretty awesome. It was a cool cinematic, I won't lie. Her design is neat, like the armor detail and everything. And this is the thing I have to do for this game is I have to put my imaginative hat on, because it's not like me if I was on steroids and all buffed out walking around. These guys are, you know, the like their appendages are obscenely large, that sort of a deal. Yeah. I don't want to say it's cartoony, but I want to say it's more
exaggerated.
Exaggerated. That's a good word. Yeah. Which is fine. It still has some real great artistic aspects to it, and design features. Like I said, the armor and everything, the weaponry is really cool. The environments seem really cool, and some of the effects too. Like she kind of morphs in, kind of like a Reaper-esque.
Yeah, sure.
Her hair is a little much for her look. Like it's like the one bursting feature on her, and it's like bright pinkish red. Which is like you can't stop staring at it because it's such a focal point of her design, but and it constantly floats.
It reminds me of the captain from the new Pirates movie, the bad guy of that one. Like,
you can tell. Yeah. But No, it looks neat, and she is the brother of Death
And
and
War
War
and
and
Strife.
Strife.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Do you have any other thoughts on it? Because I don't want to get too into my thing. And
I mean, there's not much more for me to say. I was kind of going mostly purely off of aesthetics, really, in action. So
yeah, do you have any questions about the franchise as a whole, though? Because again, as someone
I know
kind of
there's
looking at
quite an in-depth backstory to it, and we've talked about it in the past. But I guess maybe you discuss why she's there and why Death is chained up. I guess maybe explain that.
All right, I would be more than happy to. Well, thankfully, the lore to Darksiders isn't super deep because there's kind of 2 games, there's a book, and there's a few things here and there, a few little comics, like one that came with, each one came with one. This was the one that came with Darksiders 2. Pretty cool little comic, really great Joe Mad art. I don't know for sure if he's actually working on this one, but I'm hoping so. But the art style seems to still be there. Anyway, War is chained up, Joe, because he was accused for bringing on prematurely the apocalypse onto the third kingdom, which is that of man. So that's why he's chained up, and he's all like right there in front of the Charred Council. And so during this time, this is kind of before Darksiders, the first one starts, because he goes to the apocalypse, and then he gets kind of put away for about a century. And then he comes back to Earth to try to clear his name. But during this time, Death goes out to restore all of humanity by going to the Well of Souls, and he's trying to bring them back to expunge his brother for killing everybody. But unfortunately, War was, well, he was framed. He was kind of caught in the middle of a struggle between angels and demons and all that stuff, and he was the fall guy, basically. So he goes around enacting his vengeance and justifying all the wrongs that had happened by killing a lot of people. But during this time, also, it looks like with Darksiders 2, like I was talking about, was before Darksiders 1, this is where Fury comes in. So this 100 years that War is being chained up by the Charred Council, she goes to Earth to attack the 7 deadly sins, which I wasn't aware of truly existed, I don't think, in Darksiders before. I've seen 7 Deadly Sins and other things like that, like the show 7 Deadly Sins, the anime, or in like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. But it looks like she's going to go back to during this time period, like right after the apocalypse, and go and fight these things on the planet, or on Earth, as it were. So we've seen a little bit of one of the sins, which is Sloth. He's like a big bug man. He's got a bunch of bed sores all over him. And apparently he's not going to move like a lot. It's like a bunch of minions. So you have to fight your way to him, which I think is kind of cool. But 7 sins, I guess that's kind of like the dungeons or the bosses of the game, you know. But yeah, that's what's going on there.
Very cool.
It also kind of looks like in some of the concept art and some of the other things that I've seen that she is wielding some of the weapons or smaller versions of the weapons that her brothers use. For instance, War uses a gigantic sword called Chaos Eater, and it looks like she's kind of got a smaller version of that. It looks like she has some scythes on her back, and one of the pictures too, which is like, okay, in Darksiders 2, you can kind of pick up like different gear. It wasn't always the same. Like you had different things you're switching in and out, as opposed to having like your one weapon that got more powerful over time. But her whip, obviously kind of the big defining feature of her character, besides her hair, which will be different. I'm not sure how whip combat's going to work, because it looks like you said, Joe, kind of whip around a dude and make him kill himself, kind of like almost like a counter before an attack, as it were. It's like a premature counter, like stop killing yourself.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do that in the game, then that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm also wondering what kind of reach it'll have, and also if she only has the one, or if she'll keep trading them out. You know, will it be ones that she upgrades, or will this just be the one she always has, and then she'll have like a bunch of different weapons she can use all
Maybe
the time?
The whip, she does a and it goes rigid, like a sword.
Oh,
you know,
like a really long sword. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I can
definitely.
definitely.
Maybe it compacts a little bit.
Yeah. Well, everything in Darksiders, Joe, it's usually too big. That's the thing. It's always like it's too much. That's a good thing.
Made in Texas, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But her look has changed a little bit too. Back in the old stuff for the concept art for Darksiders, they had some old drawings of her, and she was kind of just like a sexy lady. Didn't really have a cool armor or anything, but now she definitely does. And it's interesting to see the evolution of this character. And we didn't really know a lot about her before this. We knew that she had a whip, or she used claws and stuff like that. And we've seen those types of weapons, the claws, not the whips. But implementation as a main weapon, as a whip. That's kind of yeah, it's cool. I'm interested to see, and I think she's a good choice because it seems to be a time where it's not like a lot of people wanted Strife, and he's this guy who's got these 2 guns that you've seen in the other games, Mercy and Redemption. But it's a good time for female protagonists to take the stage, and I think that's a really smart idea. It makes the most sense, and it'll make their game stand out. Kind of like with Horizon Zero Dawn, you could have you could have made it a male, but they decided not to, and I think that's a good thing. And eventually they'll maybe Strife will come down the pipeline, maybe eventually. But if they want to take a crack at this again, I don't think it's a bad place to start. So the only concern I have is her character. Like, we haven't seen much, and I don't want to judge completely, but the way she treated War right there was kind of strange. She kind of grabs his chin, kind of like I'm gonna go do this. She's kind of cold to him, which even though Death is probably one of the coldest individuals out of the 4, his whole purpose for doing all this is to save his brother. And right now it's kind of like, it seems like Fury has nothing. She doesn't want to deal with War at all. And from like the book I've been reading and some of this other stuff, it seems a little odd. Maybe it's just this cinematic, but usually the 4 horsemen are kind of bound together by brotherhood, friendship, and blood, because they were the ones that wiped out their own race together. They did that. So yeah, kind of crazy, the Nephilim. So does that help you kind of get a better picture of Darksiders, Joe?
Yeah, and I think overall you give it I think it's a very good synopsis, and it helps show why it's such an interesting storyline and a good franchise.
Yeah,
and backs up your proclamations.
Yes, well, I've been drawn to this ever since the first one came out, and it is the art style and then kind of the blending of things like Zelda-style dungeons with kind of a Devil May Cry-style fighting system. So you do have your classic, like, light this torch and then light that other bomb to blow this whole thing up and you can get through. Then you also have, like, really cool fighting, but it's usually just the characters. Every character in this game is so well crafted and looks so cool. Every merchant, like, they've got Vulgrim, who's like this creepy demon guy, and you never know if you want to trust him. And it's just everybody you talk to, especially in Darksiders 2, they're all really, really cool. And I think the love that I have for the look of the game, it doesn't blind me to the shortcomings, but it just makes me appreciate what that game does that a lot of other games don't do. So it's not going for like a realistic look at all. It's not going for any of that. It's got its own kind of cartoonish vibe that I really appreciate.
It's very creative,
yeah. It's like an edgy Western anime style thing, and I'm all about it. But I'm gonna probably make like a little video once we get a little more information about Darksiders 3, because I have a wish list, which I was pointing out earlier. But it's definitely not going to be that. So maybe I'll put that as Darksiders 4 wish list or 5 wish list. Just gotta like keep moving it up. Yeah, I'm just excited to see that. And like I've said before, I didn't care how Darksiders 3 came into existence. Whatever form, I will take it. I'm just happy that this franchise has come through all the turmoil of that studio shutting down. Bless you.
There was a sneeze. It's been waiting all this time.
That's okay. I'm just happy that it got through this group closing down and then kind of getting shifted and rebranded and bought by other people and stuff like this, and now it's coming back, and all these people who worked on these older games and worked on the remasters are coming back together. Oh boy, it's going to be a contender for 2018 for sure. I'm excited to see more about it. But anyway, that's Darksiders 3. I'm stoked. I'm excited. You'd ask me what my hype leader is, but it's up there.
When was it coming out again?
2018. I don't know if we got a firm release date yet. Plus, even if they gave one right now, it's in development. So I would think that any date they would give out would be not necessarily super concrete. So
sure,
2018. Sure. That's fine.
I love that word, concrete. It's not super concrete.
Like a concrete mixer at your local Culver's. They didn't
I could totally go for one right now.
We don't have sponsorship from Culver's, Joe. We can't talk about them. Not yet.
And, enjoy a nice, crisp, cold, refreshing Canada Dry ginger ale.
Yeah, man, I got to talk to those people. Anyway, yes, Darksiders 3, 2018. Can't wait. Joe, I'm not gonna make you play this game, but I'm gonna make you watch it. gonna make you watch me play the whole thing because I'm gonna play it. It's gonna be great. It's just like back at school because this is another game that Joe kind of, I think it was Darksiders 2, maybe. I remember Joe came in one day. I probably told the story before. But he came in and I had my door open. I was just playing one of the Darksiders games. He came sat there. I was like, "Hey, what you playing?" I'm like, Darksiders. He's like, "Oh, cool." Sits down on my futon. I used to sit at my back against the bottom part of the futon because I like to be uncomfortable when I play games. So I'd sit on the floor and have my back against it. And he just like laid down and watched for like 2 hours. And I was just like, oh, Joe's just like hanging out. He was like, watching, just playing some Darksiders, killing stuff. Oh man, I can't wait. It's gonna be great. So good. I've got my hype has been tempered, but once I see a little bit more, it might just burst wide open. So anyway, Joe, we're moving on here because we've talked about Call of Duty. We talked about Darksiders 3. But I want to play a little game with you this week because, well, it's May. We're in May now, one of the biggest months we're ever going to get for movies. And I looked over the past 5 years for movies, superheroes specifically, because this May we're getting Guardians of the Galaxy, which is kind of Volume 2, which is the big kind of one for this month. But also other movies like Pirates of the Caribbean and Alien Covenant are coming out this month too. Not necessarily superhero movies, but I'm going to classify them kind of like that just because right now, yeah, sci-fi horror and then kind of like action, swashbuckling, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, Joe, I'm going to read off these big superhero films from the past 5 years that all came out in May. Now, Joe, what I'm going to need you to do to play the game is to correctly guess and rank the order of their worldwide grosses. So how much money they made altogether throughout the world. Are you ready?
Ready.
He's ready. All right. Let's start in 2016. In May, we had X-Men Apocalypse and Captain America Civil War. In 2015, we had Age of Ultron. In 2014, we had Amazing Spider-Man 2 and X-Men Days of Future Past. In 2013, we had Iron Man 3. And in 2012, we had The Avengers. So, Joe, let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Out of all of those films, which one do you think had the lowest grossing worldwide gross, as it were?
Amazing Spider-Man 2. Was it 2? Which one did you say? 2
yes,
or 3?
I said 2. Yeah, they never made a 3. They never did a 3. Yeah. Actually, no. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is not the least grossing one of all of them, but it is close.
I feel like I need to see this list in front of me.
You can't see this list in front of you because it's too telling. It's too telling.
Well, I needed to like write them down. Let me get a pen.
You don't need a pen. You're good.
Okay.
You're fine. Take another guess.
Lowest grossing.
Yep.
This
is good.
Be real quick. Run through some more.
Well, they're the same ones, but X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Days of Future Past, Captain America Civil War, Age of Ultron, Iron Man 3, Avengers, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
One of the X-Men films, Apocalypse, was the lowest grossing.
That is correct, Joe. X-Men Apocalypse only got $543 million.
Because it sucks!
Yeah, I gotta watch that movie again, but man, yeah.
No, you don't.
I don't even remember what... it's so hard to remember what I gave a movie a year ago. I don't know.
It's not worth your time.
All right. Okay. And then you kind of almost guessed it the first time, but what do you think the second lowest grossing one was?
Okay, this is Spider-Man 2.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 comes in at $708 million.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting close to $1 billion.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, weirdly enough, I think Batman vs Superman was a little bit more. It was like $843 million. But Batman and Superman should get $1 billion. Like
it should, considering Fate of the Furious got
over $1 billion.
Over $1 billion. So
yep. All right, and now guess the third of this group. Working our way up.
Go through the ones that are left, please. The next X-Men movie, Days of Future Past.
That is correct. $748 million. So it edged out Amazing Spider-Man by 40 mil. So, and I thought that one was pretty good. That was a pretty good one.
Okay, so hence why it did better than those two.
Yeah, because I thought it did better. It should have done better. All right, Joe. Now we're getting into the billion mark. We're gonna pass 1 billion with all these other ones, according to my information.
Iron Man 3.
Actually, no, that is not correct.
Okay, what's left then? We got Iron Man 3. We got the first Avengers film. We got Age of Ultron.
That's correct.
We've got Civil War.
Those are the 4 we have left.
Age of Ultron.
No. I'm sorry. That's not correct.
We're surpassing 1 billion.
Yes, sir.
It's not Iron Man 3 or Age of Ultron. So the first Avengers film, I don't feel like that would be that low. And I feel like Civil War was so good that it did gangbusters.
I think anything over 1 billion does gangbusters to me personally. Like if someone was like, Jimmy, you made a film over $1 billion, and they're like, yeah,
all right,
it should have been
so
lower.
so let's do it. The 2 that I thought it was, it wasn't. So let's go with Civil War.
That is correct. Captain America: Civil War pulled in $1.1 billion, which still to me
is exceptionally good, but
I think
part of me is a little surprised.
I think if they would have called it like Avengers 2.5, they wouldn't have called it that. But if they would put that Avengers word in there, that gets you $1 billion. I think. Like,
maybe the general public wasn't as interested because it seemed more specific.
Yeah, they're like, it's Cap. Why do people like Cap?
Yeah, they didn't realize how many people were featured. You feel like Spider-Man was toted a bit, so they would have known. But
yeah.
Anywho, so next one in line, Spider-Man 3.
No more Spider-Man.
I mean, sorry. Spider-Man was on the brain. I apologize. Iron Man 3.
That is correct, Joe. 1.2 billion, which is crazy.
That's
how much?
Pretty damn good, and that was not a good movie.
No, we saw that together. Robert Downey Jr. just pulls people in, and that was like a Christmas movie, Joe.
Yeah, it was kind of holiday based, wasn't it?
It has the little kid in it, also who's in Jurassic World. How much is that kid making?
Oh, it was that kid?
Yeah, more than we'll ever see.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Good on him.
All right, Joe, and what are the last 2? We've got Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron. Which one do you think did better?
I think Ultron did better.
That is incorrect.
Really?
The first Avengers pulled in $1.5 billion, and Age of Ultron pulled in 1.4. So.
Okay, so pretty close.
Yeah.
But so basically we're saying that the first Avengers was kind of the first big collab of all those characters coming together. Obviously, there was a big draw. It was something new and fresh. People were just enticed by the epicness of it, the big grouping. And so everybody had to see it. They had their taste. Then they had Age of Ultron, which they had seen before. Same with Civil War. Maybe it wasn't quite as successful because it's been done. But I mean, still, it's right there. I mean, it's still over $1 billion.
Wait, what do you mean by Captain America: Civil War has been done?
Well, it hasn't, but it has. You know what I mean? Like you have the big grouping of all these characters. That's what I'm trying to get at. Gotcha. The ensemble of Marvel characters. Sure. It's kind of been done. The first one was like it was brand new and fresh. People hadn't seen something to that proportion before. They're like, "Oh, eating it up." Then they kind of get exposed to more of it. Eventually, it kind of finds its middle average line where it kind of stays consistent, right? And they're all pretty close, but yeah. So.
And again, this is just for movies in May, superhero movies in May. So there's plenty of other months where superhero films come out. So I don't want to say these are the ones, the biggest grossing of all time. I just like to look at May because May typically is the kickoff for the summer movies, and I like to see. Putting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, moving it from August to May is a big deal because that is how much faith they have in that franchise. To put that in the same month that you put things like Avengers is huge for Disney to do. And maybe they didn't have anything bigger ready, but Guardians is a big deal now. So I think putting it there, it just kind of is telling. And it's already made over $100 million internationally. We've been hearing good things about it, but we'll be able to see it this weekend, and we can tell you guys what we think next week, which I'm really excited about because, Is
it bad that I'm honestly not as jazzed up for Guardians as other Marvel movies?
Like Spider-Man?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's because it's a different type of Marvel movie. It's not really set on Earth. It's kind of I think the last one did so well because we weren't expecting it to be great, and you just kind of went in, and it's just fun.
That's true. I kind of went in with low expectations, and I came out feeling pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I feel I'll probably go into this one with the same attitude. I don't feel like I have a lot of investment in it. It's kind of the same way on Doctor Strange, and quite frankly, I didn't really care about Doctor Strange too much. I didn't really have much investment in it. I don't want to say it fell flat, but it did. It was good. There was quality there, and it was interesting, but it still wasn't as – it didn't capture me the same way something like Civil War does. Maybe part of it is Iron Man. I got to admit, there's something about that freaking robotic suit that is just captivating.
Well, you love cars and stuff, and he like basically makes the color of it. He's like hot rod, you know,
red. Yeah. Okay, so there's something to be said for that. Maybe that's just my underlying subconscious taste, gearhead type thing.
Sure.
And part of me thinks that something like that is, dang near possible. The flight part of it is a little over the top and a little too much, because that would be we could get there one day, but that seems like it'd be pretty hard to do, and it's all based off of the whole energy generation deal. Yeah. But maybe it's the gearhead of me that loves movies that feature Robert Downey Jr.
Sure,
Iron Man.
Well, now we're talking. I was thinking about this. We talked about like you like things on Earth. How about you're excited for Thor Ragnarok though, and that's going to be pretty much a lot of it's going to be off planet.
Well, I am, but I still have the same feeling. I don't know if it's a space thing with me.
You don't like space? What'd space ever do to you?
Well, it's the same thing with Star Wars. Star Wars has never really, captured my interest like it should. There seems to be a reoccurring theme here. Is that?
I feel.
However, when it comes to stuff like Aliens, I'm like, shit, yeah.
I think your parents brought you to a planetarium once, and something went wrong, and you hate space.
And maybe I like the movie Alien because Alien makes space what it should be.
No, you like Alien because it's the three things you love: dark, gritty, and ominous. Like it's not because it's in space; it's because there's like a creepy thing crawling around. It can take place in like podunk, like whatever backwater country, and you'd be like, that alien's pretty dang great. You'd be like, it wouldn't matter to you where it takes place. Space has little to do.
You're right, and you know what else? It's the thrilling features, the horror aspects, and the aesthetic design of that damn creature is unlike anything ever done ever, and it's so cool. That's what it is. All right, so that one can't be categorized in it. It's a space thing. There's something about space that I just...
You gotta fix this, man, because there's so many cool things about space, like Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars. That's okay, though. You know what's good, though? I want you to go into this movie with low expectations, because that's how I went to the first one. I was like, oh, this kind of has a vibe and edge to it. It's colorful. It's like a lot of old music. What is this going to be? And just introducing a bunch of new characters I'd never really seen too much of before. It was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. So, yeah, I like a sequel because it can build on that. We don't need the origins. It's just like, here they go.
I will say this. Chris Pratt works well for his role.
Yes, as Star-Lord. I think he's a much better Star-Lord than an Owen Grady.
Yeah. Well done. Good casting choice there. I also really like Zoe Saldana as Gamora.
Yeah.
That character is kind of cool. And then the ex-wrestler or Batista.
Yeah, Dave Batista.
He does a pretty good job. Good job. And he makes that character... He turns a character that you would think would be very serious and one-notey, and makes it the comedic relief because of his. He's very literal at all times.
Yeah. He's deadpan. He's like the biggest deadpan.
Yeah, and there's no filter. There's no filter. It's just whatever comes to mind goes out of the mouth, and that's what I say. That's what I do. And he's always serious and just one tone.
Yeah.
One tone with everything, but that's what brings out the comedic value in it, I guess. So, yeah. So, see, I'm busting out some good things that I like about it. And, yeah, I'll go in with low expectations and try and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be good. It'll
And
be
I'm
worth
sure
your
I
time.
will.
Yeah,
I'm sure I will. I enjoyed the first one, so
they're all the comic relief in some way. And you know who I think the best one is weirdly enough, Rocket. It's hard
Bradley
for me.
Cooper.
It's hard for me to remember that Bradley Cooper's doing that, because at first I was thinking I'll think Bradley Cooper the whole time. No, he transforms into Rocket. Like I don't think that when I look at Rocket, I'm like, that's just Rocket Raccoon. That's just him talking. Like it's not some voice actor. It's like, there it is.
I can't place the voice when I listen to him talk.
Bradley, you freaking nailed it.
Yeah, he really did. I was thinking about that. Every once in a while, you'll catch a little bit of a speech thing where you're like, oh, Bradley Cooper. But that's very rare, if at all, does that happen. I think it's very well done. I don't know what he's doing to create that voice for character, but it's not quite him. You can't quite tell.
Yeah, that's very good.
So.
Yeah, but like I said, we'll talk about it more next week after we see it. But I'm looking forward to it, and it's just cool to see that Marvel and Disney kind of have enough faith in this project to put it here in May. You know, and kind of lead the charge for summer.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it could have been something like, oh, we didn't have anything else to put here, but I think having this come out, then Spidey come out in July, and then Thor Ragnarok back in November, I think it's just smart.
And it's Disney too, and you know what else they got in May is Pirates. So.
Yeah,
I show some guts too. They're going against themselves just a little bit. There's enough separation there that it's not too much of a conflict of dollars.
Joe, that's an excellent point, actually, because Memorial Day weekend is technically like when summer starts here or whatever, I should say for movies, like truly. So putting Pirates there is going to do really good. But maybe they were thinking, well, we could put this in August again, but why would we? Let's just put it in the beginning of May. So yeah, that's true. Dang, I looked at something and it said last year, the top 5 movies were all from Disney. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, they just make a lot of money. That's what it was all about that. They have a money printing machine at Disney, and they take my checks and they just put them in like a little folder, and they're like, well, we'll just send him a little sticker sometime. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited about it. But we'll talk Guardians next week. But yeah, exactly. That'll be something we're gonna kill time with. But we kill time in a lot of ways, don't we, Joe? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Yeah, this reminds me of that segment we do in most of our podcasts. I believe we call it Time Killers.
That's right. It's time for Time Killers. It's the movies we've been watching, the games we've been playing, the TV shows we've been reviewing, and the cookbooks we've been attempting to read because we want to do a cooking show. That's what we want to do, is a cooking show. I'm not joking about that.
Sorry, I had to do a drum roll there for the amazing intro. Well,
thank you. Thank you. I tried. It's usually like in my mind, I'm like, all right, what's the next thing?
Did you mention the cookbooks?
I did say that because I want to do a cooking show. We want to do a cooking show. Anyway, Joe, what have you been killing time with? You kind of talked about it at the top of or earlier on, but what have you been playing? What have you been watching?
Yeah, Overwatch has been consuming me lately, and there's nothing wrong with that.
A year later, and it's still here, which is props to friggin' Overwatch.
Yeah. I've kind of wanted to get back into Titanfall a little bit. It hasn't happened yet. I have played some in April, just a little bit. I killed a little time on my own. What else? Ghost Recon has still been on the docket, and Archer. It's been kind of the same for me the past few weeks. And that Archer, I just keep getting back into it. I watched some of the seasons that I maybe caught bits and pieces of, but never the whole thing, and I watched it all the way through. And I just appreciate that kind of comedy in the characters. It's well done, and the animation style starts to get its latches into me too. So
I'm gonna rename Time Killers into the Archer infatuation segment, because I absolutely hate that show. So every week I sit here.
Why?
Because all right, the animation is not that good. It's like the same problem I have with South Park. It's all static movements. I don't really think the writing is that great. I don't really like the characters. I've tried. I've watched a few episodes and I was like, it's not for me. I just can't do it. But
that's fine. Yeah. I think it's better than maybe a little better than Family Guy and stuff. Even I think it has a little bit more of an adult feeling to it.
Sure. I don't
know. But that and. Man, that's about it. We killed a little time watching Jurassic World lately.
I wanted you to bring this up.
I don't know if anybody listening checked out my tweet from the weekend. It would have been, Saturday night? Am I right?
Yeah, something like
Friday
that.
night.
Oh, it was Friday night. Yeah, we just were like, hey man, we should like play a little bit and then like let's watch a movie. I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
So, we should have done a commentary, Joe. It was gold. We were laughing. We were having a good time.
Dude, we were eating that thing alive. We were like the mosquitoes that won't die. Oh my God, that movie, the more and more I watch it, the more I'm like, you guys took something that was near and dear to my heart, threw it under a bus, then pushed it against the curb and stepped on its testicles.
Whoa, what? What?
That movie was made as a freaking joke.
A really, really well or high paying joke.
Yeah, I mean there are redeeming qualities in it, and basically all I like it for is looking at dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's about it. The story, the things that they do, the decision making, complete garbage. I don't understand how you can put people in hamster balls next to 30-ton creatures. I don't get it.
Yeah, a lot of that was just like, I think, concept design that went way too far. They're like, what if we put people like in globes and they could go out and like explore the savannah with the dinosaurs? It's like, yeah. Can we take a logistics? Like,
or let's put a toddler on the back of a 400-pound baby triceratops. Nothing can go wrong there. Oh,
I know you get angry about that.
Triceratops gets upset, flips the baby over, and then sits on it, dead. Lawsuit waiting to happen. Or I'm going to kayak down this lazy river and get stepped on by a stegosaurus. You know, like, come on.
Okay. Yes. Let me unpack something here. Think about camels or horses or whatever else. Like little kids ride those. You go to like a fair and they're like riding them. It's the same concept, you know? It's not.
Okay. Yeah.
The kayak thing, inexcusable though. I mean, they're going down the river and like this or Brachiosaurus kind of is like, what are you doing? It's like that wouldn't like that's a big problem. Like that's not gonna.
I think about it like this. These are exotic creatures, no?
Well, I guess technically, well, not anymore. I guess, yes.
Well, I think about it like this. Do you ever get to, oh, okay, I guess there's the chances like the Animal Kingdom, you go in a safari truck and there's giraffes walking around.
Yes. Yep, that's true. I've done it. I've seen it.
Yeah, so that's a thing. But
that is a thing.
But with these creatures are even larger, like the kayak instance. Are you going to be in an open environment in a little tippy kayak where you could drown?
The kayak thing...
That's too large, unpredictable creatures.
The kayak thing is something that I think was in a trailer, and it was really cool, and it piqued all of our interest. But really, if you take like 4 seconds and think about it logistically, it really takes you... And this is what we're getting at, guys. We get it. Making dinosaurs is crazy enough as is. It would take a long time to do. We could eventually probably do it, but that's kind of insane. Now, try to put yourself in this fantasy world and try to keep it realistic, and then have you and your kid hop in a kayak and go right by a stegosaurus that has been proven in like the Lost World that they're very territorial, or if you're ever near their children, they're going to go bonkers. It's like, do you have to stay in the river so they can't get close to you? Is it deep enough that they can't? Can they not move past that point? These are the questions you shouldn't be asking when you're watching a fantasy film.
Yeah, and right away I'm like thinking that insurance adjuster was not told about this.
I can't, think of the lawyer in the first one having problems with all the stuff. Then think about actually getting like a team of lawyers and they're like, you want to put people in hamster balls in and amongst the Triceratops, and you're pretty sure that a Jimmy Fallon video will tell them that the glass is strong enough that nothing can break it. I don't think that's going to make anybody feel good. Especially me, and my name's Jimmy. So what?
Not to mention, I don't want to play soccer and be the ball.
Exactly. It just seems like a bad idea. Like it's hard, like the Gallimimus is like charging past that big truck, kind of like Joe's talking about the giraffes. Like, yes, that is like maybe as close as you get, but you'd still think there'd be glass on the side of this stuff, even if it's in near Costa Rica. It's like,
it's just
come on,
things
guys.
happen. Things happen.
Yeah.
You know. So. You know, the glass ball thing, the hamster ball concept, maybe there's some merit to that, but I want to know that there's control there.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to drive it. We shouldn't be able to drive it because it just
like it's a timed thing, and you only have 20 minutes, and there's an automatic recall. Beeline back to the home because there's a line of people in the queue waiting to go out. You can't just go off all day looking at the Triceratops, right?
But if it beelines back, what if it slams into like a Triceratops?
Okay, yeah. So there's the thing, and a Triceratops is not a giraffe. This thing's freaking huge and heavy. I mean, think about if it hits you in a wrong way, freaking whiplash, and your neck is sore, and you're in a freaking cast for a month or two. Yeah. I mean, those are the possibilities there.
Yeah. Also, the ability to go out of bounds when like that cage or the gate is burst open, and the kids could just kind of drive wherever they want. That is even more of a logistics nightmare because you put a teenager and like a tween in this thing, and you're like, just let them go where they want. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like people be running into those dinosaurs for fun. Like they wouldn't be like, respect the dinosaurs, sweetie.
Exactly. There's the age limit. There's some kid that's just like, I'm gonna bump into this one. Look at this. I mean, come on.
Just think about that in a real zoo. Just for a second, think about it in a real zoo with a bunch of buffalo.
Guys, see this elephant over here? I'm gonna bump it in the nuts.
It just wouldn't, man. It wouldn't go. It wouldn't work. Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, you have good ideas. You really do. Some of them are so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool, but
you fumble it, man, at the finish line or whatever.
It's just not quite right. It couldn't happen. I get the concept and that you want to be over the top and futuristic, like this is what could possibly be, but it's just there's some issues. And then the worst part, flat out, the worst part are the cheesy points in the Velociraptor training. The Velociraptor thing is just absolutely ridiculous to me.
That's true. Yeah, especially earlier on when they're about to kill him, and then later on they're like, actually, it's okay. We'll just run alongside your motorcycle. It's like,
yeah. I just don't understand. Like, all right, we got an opportunity here.
No, you don't.
Your Velociraptors are gonna attack that big monster and kill it.
No, they're not.
What kind of? How old are you?
Yeah, he just wanted. I get it. If I was in the army and I wanted some cool new stuff, I would be like, do I want drones or do I want to have the potential to have trained Velociraptors? I might be that guy who's pushing for Velociraptors for like the first 3 seconds until I went to see them and thought, nope, because if those things get out of hand, they'll kill everybody. Like they'll just kill them all for fun.
Or we're gonna send them into the enemy's front gates and they're gonna eat everything, belt buckle and all. Yeah, they have guns, right?
Yeah, well, even these guys, the most inept soldiers apparently on the planet, their security force, don't immediately open fire when things go wrong because
they wait and watch the big one and they're like, shoot now, you idiots. And they wait till it starts walking off.
Well, he talks about how like drones are hackable and they can't go in tunnels. It's like, yeah, but Velociraptors, I guess they aren't hackable, but it's a tunnel. So if you're going to like a straight and narrow tunnel or whatever, if someone has a shotgun or any type of gun, they'll just have to shoot in that general direction. They'll probably kill that thing.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's an animal. It can die. It's hey, see that on the horizon? It's a big open desert, and they're coming down the hillside. There's something running at us.
Just blow it up. Oh, we just bomb it.
Hey, where's that tank at?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gone. It just makes no sense. It's like sending in 4 soldiers and saying, guys, ride your bikes down this hill, pedal bikes, run down that hill and go attack these guys. Doesn't make sense. And I want you to bite them in the ear. It's just no.
Sir, they're trying to attack the tanks, and it's not work. Their claws are not. They're doing absolutely nothing. The tanks aren't even giving them.
We have one break a nail. I just lost a mic. Was that loud?
Kind of. I mean, the blood in my ears indicates that.
We have Velociraptor break a claw. He's whimpering and he's coming back to base.
Call him back. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I don't know why they need to do this. The Indominus is kind of a weird thing. The whole security issues with the whole, like, she is, like, Claire doesn't even check the GPS of the thing while she's at the actual paddock. She's, like, in her Mercedes driving away. Thanks, Mercedes. And she's, like, calling people. And, if she would have driven anything else, she probably would have gotten there faster, maybe.
Yeah, and somehow Chris Pratt, great. He's just, go ahead, go right on in, no big deal, and take the big guy with you. And
Joe, as a dinosaur enthusiast, not an expert because neither of us are, Do you think you would ever get into an enclosed space that was even maybe once occupied by a carnivore, let alone the fact that you don't know where it is and you're going to check some stuff out? Do you think you would get into a pen?
Never. Absolutely not. I don't care if they took the thing out months ago. I'm not going in it. Okay,
why do they even have doors?
That's not true. That's not true. But here's the thing. They can say that it's not in there or it's not showing up on cameras, infrared or not, thermal, whatever. Technology can malfunction. Technology isn't always right. For all we know, that thing is in the back of the cage and one of the cameras is malfunctioning. I am not going in there unless you tell me you saw it down the street 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. Also, just like if you're not sure, put that meat crane back in there and wait a bit and just like check the rest of the park. Don't open any doors. Don't let anybody go in there, because if you get people go in there, they won't use the little door to get out. They'll use the big door, because that's how I'd try to get out. I'd be like, actually, I'm gonna. It's like, what are you doing? The claw marks don't even go to the top of the. Like, if you just look at it for like 5 seconds, the claws don't go over.
Yeah, I mean, for how big the thing is, it's bigger than T-Rex. It weighs a shit ton.
Yeah.
You know how strong it would have to be to pull itself up over a concrete wall, and then when it gets to the top and gets its head over, how does it? It's got to get the rest of its body over. Then it's going to fall on the other side. It's not a freaking cat. It's going to break a leg or break its neck, or something bad will happen, and it'll be incapacitated or probably die. The walls were high enough. I mean, let's think logically here. The thing isn't going to climb up over a sheer wall.
Well, even if it does, aren't there like 100 like construction workers, security people? Like, wouldn't somebody know?
Yes, somebody would have saw.
Come on, it's like it got out, and it's like just like 5 seconds. You run a park full of dinosaurs. Maybe you shouldn't be the person in control, or maybe we should get new security people who don't immediately go down in there and start opening up gates and doors. It's like, oh man, at least
maybe hire somebody that can run.
Yeah, with the first Jurassic Park, it made sense. You had a disgruntled employee, kind of, even though they spared no expense. Nobody liked him. He didn't like anybody else. And he was trying to make a ton of money, so he was betraying the park. They didn't have anybody like that on the inside, because they probably would have thought, oh, this is just like the first one. But at least that would have made sense. I would have said, okay, yes, maybe some greedy jerk in security or watching over the park operations would do this. But the fact that it's just completely 100% human error, and the fact that the dinosaur has like 1,000 things that it's made out of, and they're like, oh, it can do this. Like, it can camouflage. It can mask its heartbeat. It can fly away. It's like, wait, what was the last one? No, it's like, just tell me, like, it's classified. Why have me come look at a dinosaur and tell you what I think about it if you're not going to tell me what it is? You're like,
well, I think the mystery of that was okay. I like that they kept it, under wraps, and then you kind of learn about it based on the things it does throughout its escape.
But as the park operations manager, they should have known all of that before letting anybody near the thing. Like, she's like, it's classified. But she didn't even know that the whole raptor thing. She just said, we probably shouldn't let raptors out against it because it's part raptor, and it might try to turn the raptors. It's like, what? Well,
and part of me hated the interaction between the two.
Oh, just shoot them all. Just shoot them all at that point.
I absolutely loathed the interaction between Blue and the T-Rex at the end.
Yeah, that makes no sense. The T-Rex
nodded at each other. I felt like I was watching a WWF wrestling fight or something. It was absolutely pitiful.
Kane and Undertaker up in here. It's just like, all right, yeah. That T-Rex would have killed it. You'd be like, I know you're kind. 20 years ago, a couple of them jumped me after I jumped them, but I got them.
They were much better looking than you.
Exactly. He's like, how did the T-Rex, of course, like this little raptor turns the tide. I love a run-in. I love a Deus Ex Machina. I really do. And it is stupid.
It's so stupid.
I don't even know where Blue's like, I'm coming back.
Velociraptor to the rescue.
Yeah. The whole training Velociraptor things, I hope they kind of let that go. I don't know where they're going to go next. That's the most intriguing thing about Jurassic World. I don't know what they're going to do next, but they have to.
Listen, it's just not the same thing as what's on your T-shirt there.
That's true. But you know what? If I still get to see dinosaurs on the silver screen, even if it's garbage, it still makes me happy. And
the redeeming quality is I still get to see cool-looking dinosaurs that help me relive my childhood passions.
Exactly. And plus,
the storyline, details, overlook them.
Yeah. Well, we don't never have to ask like what Jurassic Park could have been as an actual theme park, because we're like, oh, now we see what that would have been. So
yeah, I like the old one myself though. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, that makes way more sense too because they had like tracks and stuff. Like you couldn't get out of well, you could get out of your Ford Explorer, but you shouldn't. And it was just kind of like you go along the track. Think if like you paid all this money, Joe, and you're like going past a T-Rex paddock, and you're going and you're going, you're like, I'm not seeing it. Like just keep looking. Like I'm not seeing it. And you're like paid like thousands of dollars to get
that.
Would
Would suck. That would suck.
Right.
Yeah.
The beginning of that whole movie is them just like Dilophosaurus, and they're like, see that build up though. Oh man, that first Jurassic Park. They did.
That's the part about that is that they keep it mysterious. You don't see any dinosaurs, and then when they do show up, it's like shit.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like what?
Yeah. They lead in with the soft intro of the herbivores, and then all of a sudden, when you finally see the money makers, the T-Rex and the Velociraptors, then it's a big deal.
I don't know. You call it soft, Joe, but my heart melts every time they show that Brachiosaurus.
Oh,
I know it's dated, but I start to feel like I'm gonna cry. Like I don't know what it is. Like that whole sequence is just it's like that whole those actors just out of the park. That proves that Jurassic Park proves that you can take no-name actors and they could be very good and they can do something crazy and incredible and make a AAA like huge movie like do really well because none of those people were well known before that. And it's like
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
so Jimmy, let's get to your side of things, shall we? What have you been
killing
time with, or have we kind of covered it?
No, I want to mention two quick things. I played a bunch of games the other day for a super stream, but I'm not going to go through all of those. But I finished watching this season of DC's Legends of Tomorrow. It was like double the length of last season, so I think they gave it a little bit more. It was like 17, 16 episodes. That show's just like a lot of fun. Even if you don't watch Flash and Arrow, you might be a little confused, but it's just all about like a bunch of these misfits who are just together and they're kind of traveling throughout time to all these different periods. So every episode is something kind of completely different. And it's just a fun show. It's just good times. And in this season, they have both George Lucas and J.R.R. Tolkien, or Tolkien as they called him. Not them themselves or they themselves. It was like their past representations. But any show that's got both those guys in it, I'm like, all right. And they showed how history would change based upon what, like if something were to happen to either of them. Really cool stuff. So the other show I got into is Into the Badlands from AMC. I've kind of been down on AMC recently because I thought Mad Men was really boring and Walking Dead was horribly repetitive and stupid. But this show is pretty interesting. It's like gunpowder is like gone, like completely or been outlawed. And this area of the Badlands, Joe, of this world is run by multiple barons. If you're a baron, you have like a bunch of workers who work your land or whatever. And then you have these things called clippers. And these clippers are like your henchmen, and they're like really, really good at fighting. They fight with like swords and spears and all this stuff, and like hand to hand. So like all of it's really, really cool fight choreography. So that's what you really come for. The story's not that great, but like the fighting is so good, especially for TV. It's like, whoa. And it's only 8 episodes long for this first season. So I'm really excited because it gets to the point. Like there's not a lot of just like, we just need to fill an episode or 2. It's like, no, stuff's happening in the show all the time. And I've been enjoying it. It's kind of something I've just watched end of the night. I'm like, here we go. So that's what I've been killing time with. All right, Joe. Now it's time to move into community feedback and questions. So, Joe, I asked our lovely Legionnaires a question. I asked them, if you could pick any Guardian of the Galaxy, who would you want watching your back? Joe, I kind of want to ask you that question. Which is there any Guardian of the Galaxy that jumps out to you where you're like, I'd want him watching my back?
Oh, so it has to be one of the team members. It can't be just from the movie.
It can be from the movie. What?
Overall?
Yeah.
I would pick.
Oh, I know he's gonna pick.
Oh man, I can't even think of his damn name right now.
Drax.
Thanos.
Oh no, you can't pick. No, he has to be a guardian. He has to be the guardian. He has to be the guardian. No, you can't pick. I pick
Thanos watching my back. Done deal.
No, not a guardian. He probably was at one point or something stupid. They'd be like, actually, in this episode or in this comic, he was. You have to pick one of the group.
This is kind of tough. Groot.
Because just Groot.
Not baby Groot bullshit. The real one, the big one.
Okay.
Not the, Vin Diesel's voice is very calming.
Doesn't even sound like him though.
I know. His ability to defend and his versatility.
Oh, there you go. Excellent. Excellent. Well, Night Warrior 30 says just Drax. There you go. Ryan, our old friend Ryan Joe, he said, I'd have to go with Star-Lord. I could at least trust him the most while being able to talk with him. That's pretty good. I thought that was a good one.
Sure. More relationship based, right?
Yeah. My absolute favorite answer was from Anna, and she just said, I am Groot, which I thought was just says it all right there. I was like, oh, that's very good. It's like, well played. Anyway, that's, for me, I'm going to pick Rocket.
That was.
He complains a lot, but he's always got the biggest guns and he's got a heart of gold. And I think if you became friends with Rocket, like it would be a forever bond, and you would just always be able to just like have his back, and he would take your side no matter what. Like if you were completely wrong, he'd point a gun at people and be like, "You better agree with him." Like you'd be like, "Oh, that's Rocket. That's my boy."
Oh, yeah. Jimmy, I don't want to be a bandwagon jumper, but
jump on the bandwagon.
I think that's a good pick. I'm changing my pick. More so because I just like raccoons. I think raccoons are cool.
Technically not a raccoon. He just looks like one. Don't call him a raccoon. He doesn't. Like he says, nothing in this galaxy are like me except me, or whatever he says in the first. He says something really cool. It's like, oh yeah.
But I also like his personality.
I love it.
Kind of a gritty little scrapper, you know.
His intro to the first one too. He's like zoomed in. He's like looking at a bunch of people, and he's like making fun of a kid. He's like, "Walk by yourself, you little gargoyle," or whatever.
Yeah. I might have to rewatch that first one because it was pretty good.
You should. We got to prep for two. Not that you really need to, because I think Guardians you could probably start anywhere, and you'd be like, whatever. Anyway, let's move into. We're talking about sequels right here, and Anna has an excellent question for us. She says, "Critical #Critical Podcast. There are a lot of bad sequels. When are they needed / welcomed, and when are they not? What makes a good sequel?" Joe, you got any thoughts on this? There's a lot of question in there, in like one sentence or two sentences, 3. I can count things. Did it?
When are they needed / not needed?
I can tell you one. I like Inception. I don't think it's the greatest movie ever, but I don't think we need another one. I think it'd be kind of cool to have one, but it's kind of its own thing. A lot of Christopher Nolan movies are, except for like the Dark Knight stuff. It's just kind of like, here's Interstellar. Like, you don't need a sequel to Interstellar. I don't care. Like, I don't want one.
I mean, it kind of had a very, it had a good closure ending.
Yeah, maybe that's it. A movie that's got strong closure, and a lot of them want to leave it open because movies are business. So you want to, if you could make another one and already have like
then you should.
You don't have to establish anything. You're like, this is the same world as last time. Here you go. Yeah, maybe that's the best thing we could say about if it's needed versus not needed. Because something like Lord of the Rings, of course, you're going to need to have those 3 parts. But with something like The Hobbit, it's kind of weird because that could have been 1 or 2 parts, and they wanted more. Yeah. So when are they not? When you truly don't need one, and it's only just there to kind of just say like, oh, like we can make more money out of it, and here's the sequel. Yeah, we've had some bad sequels. Oh boy. And then what makes a good sequel, Joe?
Something that has a lot of possibility and good story. Something that's on a large scale, maybe environment or setting wise, it's a large scale, covers a lot of territory geographically, and the problem / the plot is large. I mean, or it's something that's extremely difficult. Good example, Lord of the Rings. A storyline like that, in order to cover all the detail and the tasks and the overcoming the obstacles, I think in order to do all that justice, you need to have sequels, right? And there's clear high points or climaxes of each that help justify it as its own movie.
Sure, that's true.
So, yeah, I don't think there's a better example than that. But
see, I think of like Spider-Man 2 as being one of the like a very loved like comic book movie, superhero film, and I think the thing that works really well with that one is that you know Peter Parker and you know his story at this point, and there's like retreading of kind of having a villain that's kind of similar, where it's like, oh, it's a father figure that turns into a bad guy. But I think kind of finding out more about him and finding out that the problems he's had in the past, like with Uncle Ben dying, and that still haunts him, and him talking to Aunt May about that, it's kind of interesting to see the character progression of a relationship like that. So I think expanding, I should say, on relationships is probably one of the coolest things you can do in a sequel, and that's what a lot of ensemble movies try to do. Look at one thing that's kind of weird in Avengers Age of Ultron, but you have something like, oh, I guess like Hulk and Widow are like have a relationship. That's more of a shoehorn one, so it's probably not a very good example. But to see something like Tony and Steve Rogers' relationship keep shifting and kind of lead towards civil war eventually, and then kind of having fights while they're at Hawkeye's farm. I don't know. I think that's one of the coolest things about a sequel, and that's what a good sequel does. Makes those relationships, builds upon them, and or Sam and Frodo, man, they at the end of those, you're like, wow, they're close. They went through the ringer. So that's what makes a good sequel. And just don't make one if you don't need one. That's what I say. Just don't have to. So
don't force it.
That's true. And our next question comes in from our good friend Fragadin. He says, "Hey Jimmy, my question is on side quests in games. While some side quests can stand out and be truly a memorable moment in any game, sometimes a game can simply feel just a series of random side quests with a standalone ending. What is your take on side quests? The more the merrier, or should they learn their place and take a backseat to the main story? Love to hear your thoughts. Adapt and overcome. Long live the Legion. #Critical Podcast." Man, what a good ending.
Nice. Hey, Ghost Recon, does that qualify? All the side missions?
Yeah, I would say Ghost Recon feels, I think he nailed it. Like, that's a good pick, Joe. That game feels like a bunch of weird side missions that will probably just have an ending. Like, it's just kind of like, do whatever you want. Like, you can do it in whatever way you want. It's fine.
I mean, it's oftentimes you're like, all right, we're going to go do this main mission, story mission. We're going to take down the drug cartel's production lines. Oh, hey, this green thing popped up as we're traveling there. Should we just knock that out real quick? Real quick? Yeah. Sure. Looks easy. Let's kill a few people, right? Hey, I think it adds to it, adds more things to do, right? I think it's enjoyable. Plus, it helps get you bonuses and work up to skill points and perks and stuff like that.
Sure. I think the problem is typically in like a very story-driven game, which I wouldn't say Ghost Recon is really story-driven. There is a story, but it's not. You don't feel compelled to complete it. And the problem is something with like The Witcher 3 having really great side quests, or Horizon Zero Dawn might not have the best side quests, but it kind of takes you off the beaten path and just kind of stretches the game out longer. So, I think it depends on the game, right?
I do have to slightly disagree with you on that, though. I think the story, the overall storyline, the step-by-step progression of it is okay, mediocre. But I am anticipating the ending. I want to see how we actually take down the leader of the cartel. I forget his name. But that point itself kind of interests me a little bit. The end game, basically. How do we interact with this guy? What's it going to take him down in the very end? That interests me. So sorry to interrupt you. Continue on, but I wanted to make that point. I feel like that part has me hooked.
Do you think that the actual story itself right now, though, you're anticipating the ending, but are you excited to play the middle?
A little bit. I mean, when we extract certain cartel leaders or whatever from different regions and we take them back to the base and they're interrogating them or whatever, some of them are, okay, that was pointless, and you just leave and it's like, well, that was lame. Some of them there's like interesting conversation, you're putting pressure on them, and then things develop. Like it talks about, okay, well, if we do this, it'll make the cartel react in this way, and we could create an inner war between the UNIDAG government troops and the cartel members. And I find that stuff kind of interesting, and in a lot of ways it's kind of realistic and neat. Like maybe this stuff happens in real life, sort of a deal.
Cool. What's the name of the spy lady who's in charge?
I'm bad with names.
Actually, hold on. What are the names of any of the people that we've been playing? Who's the character you play? Because I'll tell you what, I have no idea.
As far as I'm concerned, I think they leave that to your imagination. It's supposed to be you.
Okay, but how about the lady who's in charge?
I can't remember.
You don't even know the cartel leader's name.
See,
That'd be like we're
yeah.
gonna go storm Mordor, and you're like, who are we fighting again? I think it started with an S. This thing is an S. It would be a bad story if we didn't know we're going after. Like, yeah. I think
No, I agree with you. I think I don't think that's necessarily my focus. I don't delve into the details or the names, but I am interested to see how it develops. You know,
I'm just giving you a hard time. Ghost Recon, would you say the story it's pretty surface level? It's not trying to be more than that. It just wants to be that.
Exactly. Thanks for beating me up so hard on it, though.
Yeah, no, well, you cut me off, so you come at me, I'm coming at you. I gotta do it.
Justice, we've been playing a lot of it, so.
No, and that game is really fun to just play with buddies and just kind of screw around and play for hours, but everything feels kind of like a side quest almost. Whereas in a story-driven game, Joe, if you were to play one of these kind of like you kind of played a little tiny bit of like Shadow of Mordor or something, but to have these quests that kind of get in the way and distract you, those are the things I think Pragan's talking about. And I think if you have too many of those, like if you just look at that map for Ghost Recon for like a second, it's overwhelming. Like all the stuff you don't have to do, but it's like it's there if you want it, which is nice for us because when we're just kind of kicking back and playing, it's cool. But if I wanted to get to the story, like you could just like this stuff isn't distracting. Like it's not really cool stuff that we're doing for side missions. It's just like there. It's like go pick this up, go get this stuff so you can get a new skill point to get this thing. You know, I don't know. But I think just for me, in another game that isn't Ghost Recon, like a Witcher or something, I don't think more is merrier. I think there's a fine line because you don't want to distract your player too much from their end goal. Because if you're kind of saying, why would I want to complete this game? Like I can just live in side quests forever. You want to have that sense of a narrative that keeps you pushing forward. Because think if like, what if Frodo and the gang just all chilled out in Rivendell? They're like, I think there's a couple side quests here, like as far as the movie goes. Like, we'll get to that Sauron stuff eventually. Like, they're like, it's a time limit. And they're like, actually, it's not a time limit. It's whenever I want to get to that point. I'm not saying that every game needs a time limit per se, but I think Persona 5 has been doing it kind of well. It's kind of every day you're moving forward in the story and time is a factor. So I don't know. I don't think more is merrier. But that's I love side quests. A good side quest can be more memorable than some full campaigns in other games. So
sometimes,
that's true. Should they learn their place and take a backseat to the main story? I wish some of them would, but I think a good side quest will stick with you because it's more personal. Because you felt like you went out and found that yourself. Like you found a chunk of the story that wasn't handed to you on a platter, and you made that your own. It's kind of in a similar way, like emergent gameplay. Going back to some of the things that we've done in the past, like Ghost Recon, Grand Theft Auto, where the most memorable moments aren't necessarily the story. It's that like Joe tried to blow up a car, driving up a ramp onto the Air Force base or into the airport, like stuff like that. Like it's not. Those are the moments that'll stick with you. So I think that's why side quests are becoming more prevalent. But I wouldn't say you need more of them. So, yeah, just take time, craft a few great ones. Don't distract your players too much. That's what I'd say. So, thank you so much. What a great question. But unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the show. But if you do have a question or a topic or a game you want to see us play here on the podcast, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag #CriticalPodcast to either one of us. You can find me at GoCritical. That's with a capital G or a capital C. Or you can also find me at my personal Twitter account, which is just JimmyGood013. Or you can find Joe at
Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L. Don't forget that underscore.
Exactly. If you want to see us playing actual video games or anything like that, you can drop by our Twitch channel, which I'll just put up. But it's just just Critical Reviews over on Twitch. It's pretty good stuff. We had a huge stream the other day announcing our Patreon. So if you're interested at all in supporting the show, throw us a buck or whatever if you want to see more of our stuff. You can check out our goals and all that stuff over at patreon.com/Critical Reviews. You can check out all the cool rewards and things you can get back. Some really cool art by the one and only Joran Evers, who I want to thank. This is Daleb and Joran Evers for contributing. Daleb, obviously, to our great theme music, but Joran Evers to the art here on the show. and to all the cool art that you can get on Patreon. So please check it out if you really like it or have checked it out already. I'd like to thank our patrons who have done that so far. Please share it around, see if we can generate a little buzz. Maybe bring us up a few more notches, so we can finally get Joe those lessons about not cutting people off. They're really expensive. Plus, I love you. I just can't help it. It's too simple. But yeah, Joe, anything else you want to say before we round up the show here?
Not much. Thanks for all the support up until now, and loving everything I've been seeing as far as feedback and sharing on the whole Patreon deal. I was pretty pumped that Jimmy did a lot of hard work and got that released this week, and very proud of it. So, and thank you all for the support. So
yeah, you'd have no idea how many people I've tried to explain to what Patreon is in the past few weeks. It's so many people are like, "You want to do a what?" No, and I'm like, you just have to look at it. Especially like on the business aspect of all of it, they're like, "A what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." But it's really cool. It's really good. Yeah, and thank you for everybody who's been liking and just sharing and retweeting and leaving us good reviews and stuff on iTunes. We really appreciate all that type of thing. Yeah, just sharing it around. If you can't chuck in $1 or throw in $1, that's totally fine. If just to share it around, that's the best thing you can do for us. But thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. And we'll see you next week for some Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 talk. That'll be great. So thank you. Remember to adapt and overcome. And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.